Nuance, a tricky element in language which can be often misconveyed during translations. But in a series as detailed as One Piece, how much are non-Japanese speaking fans missing out on? Hello my Nakamatachi, this is JoyGirl, and today we are going to be discussing details in One Piece which we may be either misunderstanding or has been lost in translation due to the barrier of language. For the large majority of One Piece fans listening in on this channel, I imagine that you, like me, read the series in another language other than Japanese. Which I might add is written in all three types of hiragana, kanji, and katakana. The reason why I mention this fact is because of my next point. One Piece is so incredibly layered and detailed. So much so that the mangaka employs all three forms of written Japanese in order to convey details properly. Indeed, Oda's attention to detail and the intricate layers behind the words he uses is part of what makes One Piece so great. The precise wording can be indicative of so many things such as characters' personalities, their relationship to others, and be even used to foreshadow future events and reveals, as well as on a much more general note, providing some humor and comedy, which is to emphasize why understanding Oda's nuance is so important. However, as would be expected with anything that is being translated, some of the subtle details can get lost in translation, resulting in fans forming misunderstandings or jumping to incorrect conclusions. An example of this can be seen in a recent manga chapter. But before I divulge what this example is, I should warn anime-only fans that despite this early example, I will be mainly talking about material that has been already animated, so spoilers in this video are few and far. Also, I will provide warnings similarly to as I have done now, so please feel free to continue watching the video and just skip ahead where necessary, as for this example. For everyone else, the cliffhanger at the end of chapter 996 caused a frenzy of speculations as to what or who Sanji may be hearing to cause his alarmed expression. Some of the unofficially released scans of the chapter were translated to include a certain familiar laugh. This led to a popular speculation that the mystery individual was Ivankov and that the revolutionary member had arrived at Wano. A theory which was quickly dispelled in chapter 997, which revealed it was Black Maria who had laid a trap. However, even before this reveal in the next chapter, the official release by Viz would have revealed that this laugh was not Ivankov's, as the official translation described the mystery person's laugh as quite different from Ivankov's. And I don't use this example to imply that unofficial scans are the problem. Though throughout the history of the series, it is my understanding that there have been some issues with some incorrect scanlations, that isn't the point of this video. As you will know, if you follow my chapter reviews, I do wait for the official release of manga chapters by Viz, but in some cases I also refer to scanlations afterwards to see if the difference in translations can allow me a more whole and rounded understanding of the chapter. Because even official translations by Viz can result in some mistranslations, or more rather, as is to happen between any language and regardless of who is translating the work, the nuance and subtlety of meanings can get lost in translation, which is what we are going to explore in this video. And I should preface today's discussion by clarifying that as I do not speak, read, or write Japanese myself, the missed details I will be discussing in the video are not my own personal discoveries. Rather, I will be providing some of my own takes on the translations and explanations provided by different sources on the internet, whom I'm also going to have to trust to have explained the nuance of certain linguistic details in the correct way, because personally I would have no idea or way to confirm this. In saying that, I am grateful to the various people who have taken the time to explain these details online, so that the rest of us non-Japanese speaking fans can get a fuller idea of our beloved series. And with that said, without much further ado, let's get into it. The first category I want to discuss are puns, starting with Franky's nickname. Before his transformations, Franky calls out hentai, which is often translated to pervert, and when other people refer to Franky in this manner, he seems to feel complimented. This always confused me because although Franky has a goofy and eccentric personality, I wouldn't necessarily camp him along with Sanji and Brook with their obsession with women and the latter's obsession with seeing women's underwear for that matter. Whereas Franky may be obsessed with wearing no pants himself, but it doesn't strike me as a perversion towards women. And the reason behind why he actually calls out hentai is a play on words. Hentai in Japanese, depending on how it's spelled, can mean different things. On one hand, hentai can mean pervert, a weirdo or freak with strange attitudes. But it can also mean a transformation and change in figure, as hentai is another word for henshin, the more common way to say transform. So Oda is playing on the spoken word hentai, which can mean different things depending on its spelling, as Frankie is a cyborg who can transform into different forms, but his kooky, eccentric personality and behavior could also be aptly described as perverted or weird. So this explains why our cyborg shipwright is so pleased at being referred to as a pervert, a name which, in other circumstances, would besmirch his manly pride. Another pun I found which was lost in translation is Zoro's parting words to Kaku after defeating the CP9 agent. In English, Zoro is shown to say, "You're fired," which is actually a great callback in itself to an earlier moment where Paulie asked Zoro to pass on his message that the undercover CP9 members posing as the shipwrights are fired. However, this has an additional meaning, as in Japanese, the word for fired has an alternative meaning of neck. Now, considering Kaku's giraffe, Zoan devil fruit form, Oda has slipped in a pun referring to Kaku's long giraffe neck. The fights in the Enies lobby arc were spectacular, Zoro and Kaku's definitely being an epic match. So finding out about this little detail made me love their battle even more. Speaking of Zoro, many of his attacks have double meanings. His most common attack, for example, Onigiri, translates to demon slash. However, it is also the name for Japanese rice balls, a common food, and actually, the food that Rika, the little girl in Shell's town, made for Zoro whilst the swordsman was tied up in the navy base. Similarly, his Enbima Yonzu Onigiri, which he used during the Enies lobby arc, is a stronger variation of his Onigiri attack. And in English, the translation calls the attack the Charming Demon Sleepless Night Onigiri. But this too is a play on words where the Enbima Yonzu could sound like Ebi Mayonnaise, thus translating his attack to Shrimp Mayonnaise Rice Ball. And Zoro's Dragon Twister attack, named Tatsumaki, is also a type of sushi, continuing Oda's use of food puns when it comes to Zoro. Knowing these food-related names adds a deliciously comedic element to the serious and epic mood of Zoro's attacks. Moving on from the fun and comedy of puns that get lost in translation, the missed subtlety during the translation process may also be affecting our understanding of characters' personalities. Whilst their dialogue and their behavior means that we have a pretty good idea of the characteristics and nature of the Straw Hats, Oda also makes this clearer through each crew member's way of speech. Now, I won't be discussing each Straw Hat, but it is an interesting element of Oda's character development. For example, both Luffy and Zoro have a casual and informal pattern of speech. However, Zoro tends to use words that are more aggressive and masculine, or more reminiscent of a gruffy old man, such as the use of his informal "omae," which is considered a rude way to say you, and "teme," which could be loosely translated to "you bastard" or "son of a bitch." This is representative of their personalities, with both characters being carefree individuals unbothered by the societal norms and manners. Usopp also speaks casually, but an interesting trait about our sniper is that he often uses the honorific sama when he's referring to himself, which could come off very insulting as he is positioning himself higher than the person to whom he is speaking, as referring to himself as sama is like introducing himself as Usopp the Great. However, rather than wishing to be rude, we can take this in stride as it is fitting with his personality as an exaggerator, especially when it comes to himself. In contrast to most of the Straw Hats' use of informal language, Robin and Brooke use relatively formal language. And this can be indicative of their personalities, as Robin's use of formal language could be understood in light of her background. Never being able to trust others, her polite manner of speech is indicative of her wish to maintain a distance between herself and others. And accordingly, her polite distancing was shown to change after the Enies lobby arc when it came to her nakama, as she ceased to refer to them as their roles and instead actually began to use their names. For Brooke, His use of formalities is indicative of his age and gentlemanly personality, unless it comes to women's underwear, of course. And we can't discuss the Straw Hat's manner of speech without mentioning Sanji's stark contrast between talking to men or women. In particular, his trait of using honorifics to refer to Nami as Nami-san and Robin as Robin-chan is obviously due to his love for women. But what is more interesting is that Nami can also be seen to use honorifics when talking to the cook, calling him Sanji-kun, something she does not use with the other males in the crew. But this is usually seen when Nami wants Sanji to do something for her, which is very fitting of her quite shrewd personality, as Nami knows that this would make Sanji happier and thus more likely to heed her requests. Though I doubt she even needs to do anything more for the woman-obsessed cook to listen. Furthermore, Sanji's use of san for Nami and chan for other women such as Vivi and Robin could be indicative of certain things. Chan is a more playful and childlike version of san. So Sanji's choice to use san for Nami exclusively is interesting, particularly considering that Nami is younger than Sanji, whereas Robin is older than him. It's possible that as Nami was the first woman in the Straw Hat crew, Sanji uses a more respectful term in light of her seniority when it comes to their order of joining their crew. Furthermore, when Sanji first met Nami, she was a customer at the Baratier restaurant. As such, he needed to address her in a more formal and respectful manner while still expressing his admiration for her. My personal take on this is also that Sanji, as one of the most empathetic of the Straw Hats, calls Robin with the playful honorific as a way to relate to Robin. Knowing that she didn't get much of a childhood due to her circumstances, I've always thought that this is a way that Sanji has been subtly assuring Robin and allowing her to feel at ease. A constant reminder that with the Straw Hats, she's safe. In any case, while some of these character traits in its general sense may still be relayed, it's clear that a detailed understanding of the Japanese language can offer more insight into the characters and their relationships. Moreover, the nuance in language can also be used as a foreshadowing element. But for this discussion, I am going to have to ask anime-only fans to skip ahead to the time shown on the screen. For everyone else, we have recently seen an example of Oda's subtle use of the Japanese language to give us a hint of future reveals. The truth behind Kaido's nature was a long-wondered mystery in the Wano arc, only recently revealed that Kaido is indeed a Zoan Devil Fruit holder, having the Ua Ua no Mi, a fish Zoan Devil Fruit. And when we analyze Kaido's laugh, it seems that Oda may have been using his unique laughing style to foreshadow Kaido's Devil Fruit. This is as, in the written form, the first two characters of Kaido's laugh is read to be pronounced to be wo in worororo. However, when read literally, it's more like uo, similar to his devil fruit. Whilst the pronunciations may not be exactly the same, it's an intricate and very subtle linguistic detail that non-Japanese, and perhaps even Japanese-speaking fans would not be able to pick up on. And in general, the nuance of a language can allow a deeper understanding of the series, whether this be regarding certain characters and their names, or a deeper reading of a given scene. For example, a question often asked by One Piece fans is regarding Edward Newgate's name. Why is this late former Yonko called Whitebeard when he has an impossibly hard to miss white moustache? The reason behind this is that Whitebeard's name in Japanese is Shirohige. And in Japanese, there is no distinction between beard or mustache. Hige refers generally to facial hair, explaining why Whitebeard is named as such and not white mustache. And I think we can all agree that his current name sounds infinitely better. Aside from characters, the true meaning or significance behind moments can also be lost. And for this, anime-only fans will have to again skip ahead. The flashback to Ace and Yamato in chapter 1000 raised a new speculation regarding Luffy. Whilst our beloved Straw Hat captain is often thought of in reference to his dream of becoming Pirate King, Ace's specific words hinted that there may be more than just this goal. That Luffy has a further wish to achieve after becoming Pirate King. This is because the words used in chapter 1000 isn't simply dream, but translated to a final dream, or ultimate dream, or what is at the end of the dream. And whilst this nuance was correctly captured by the official translation in the recent chapter, you may be surprised to know that this should have been relayed to us way before chapter 1000, almost half the series ago, back in chapter 574. In the panel where Ace apologizes to Luffy and encourages his brother, affirming his belief in Luffy, even the official release translated Ace to have simply said, "I wasn't able to see your dream through to the end. But you, I know you can do it." Reading this back then, it's easy to assume that Ace was simply referring to Luffy's dream to become Pirate King. However, in Japanese, Oda used the same word that he did in chapter 1000, where Ace would have been referring to another final dream. An only very slight difference in words, but one that has quite the significant implication. This revelation that Luffy has a further goal after attaining the Pirate King title is something that was lost as a result of mistranslation. And let's go back to the Straw Hat's use of formal or informal language for the next example. Nami, like most of the crew, uses casual, informal language most of the time. The only time when she chooses to use formal language is when she's putting on an act and trying to flatter someone. For example, she used formal language when she was talking to Enel, trying to appease him in order to save her life. In chapter 995, Nami brought tears to our eyes as she made that awesome declaration of her belief that Luffy is the man who will become Pirate King. And if that scene wasn't awesome enough, there's something that makes that moment even more impactful. And that is that Nami uses the polite formal language when saying that Luffy is going to become Pirate King, in contrast to her usual manner of speech. Now, this could be attributed to the fact that Nami was already using this formal language earlier on in the chapter to save herself and Usopp from ulti when she was pleading that they were already defeated. But it can also have a deeper meaning. Nami, at this moment when she made the declaration, was risking death. She knew the consequence of choosing not to betray her captain. These words, in her mind, would likely be the last words that she would ever say. And so, it feels like Nami, knowing this, wanted to do this heartfelt declaration justice by putting some respect in her captain's name. She wanted to say it properly, giving it her all, despite what it meant for her life. And finding out about this, the scene means even more, which I didn't even know was possible. The amount of intricate layers that make up this scene is nothing short of astounding, and Oda proves once again why he is the master storyteller. It also does, however, make me wonder, how much more nuance and details are we missing out on when we read the translated copy of One Piece? Because yes, these examples are just small details that don't change things hugely, but considering that nuance and subtle implications are part of what makes One Piece so great, I do wish I could read Japanese to understand everything fully. And so in saying that, if anyone can read or understand Japanese, I do implore you, please let us know about any other such details and nuanced meanings that are being lost in translation. In fact, anyone who knows of more examples, please let us know by leaving a comment below. Which does bring us to the end of today's discussion. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and don't forget to share the video. And please subscribe so that we can continue discussing the incredibly layered and detailed world of One Piece. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.